Hi everyone, welcome to this new video, and in this video we are going to understand how we can integrate HSM with our Fabric client application. And in this particular demonstration we will be using soft HSM to integrate the Fabric client application. So the keys will be stored in the HSM, and HSM is basically a hardware security module that allows you to store your private information like the secrets or maybe the private keys, all of them in a hardware device. And these hardware devices are physical devices. But in this case, we will be using a software-based implementation, which is soft HSM, to simulate how we can actually store these identities in the HSM and do the transaction. Let's see, how actually these things are going to work. So let's understand this with the help of a diagram. So what happens is in a Fabric network, you will be having a Fabric CA. So let's assume that this is our Fabric CA. This is our Fabric CA. And what happens is that with Fabric CA, you will be also having a Fabric client application or a CA client application. So let's call this as a CA client. And these CA client can be available in the two form. One is the SDK. So you can have a Fabric CA client SDK, CA client SDK. Or you can have a binary as well. So Fabric CA provides you a CA client binary as well. So you can either have a SDK or you can have a client library, or you can have binary itself. So you can have two ways to interact with the Fabric CA. And what happens is, so usually we perform two operations when we want to get identity. First is the registration part. So Fabric CA client is going to register for identity. And what happens is after the registration, the CA client will issue a command to do the enrollment. And in case of enrollment, it is going to get back the certificate and the key. So let's say this is an enroll command. And in case of enroll command, what happens is we get back the certificate. So in the return, we will be getting back certificate and the key. So here we'll have certificate and we'll have a private key. So we'll have two things, certificate and the private key. And now we want to store these certificate and the private key somewhere so that our client application can use them to do the transaction. Now what happens is Fabric CA library, Fabric library itself, they provide us three ways of storing these identities in the form of wallet. So the first kind of wallet that is provided is the file system based wallet, where all these certificates and the keys are stored in the form of file. The other kind of interface that is provided to us is the in-memory wallet, which allows you to store these certificate and the key in the form of an in-memory wallet. And as soon as your machine restarts, you will lose these keys because these are stored in the in-memory. Now, third kind of wallet that is provided is the CouchDB based wallet, where you will be providing up the endpoint of the CouchDB, and then these keys will be stored in the form of a CouchDB record. Now, if you see these three implementation, again, the private key is stored along with the in the respective storage. So if it is a file system based wallet, then the private key is stored in the form of file. If it is a CouchDB based wallet, then this private key is available in the form of a CouchDB record. Now, in order to safeguard our private key, we can use HSM, where the private key will be stored in the HSM and the corresponding certificate can be stored in any of these three wallets. And in today's demonstration, we are going to use soft HSM, and we will be using file based wallet, which is the file system wallet, to store the certificate. And we'll be just spinning up a test network where after the test network, we will be just trying to do some transaction as well once we successfully store these keys into the HSM. Now let's go back to the screen. So this is the Fabric samples advanced repository, and we will be just implementing everything here. But before that, let's start a network. Okay, so now let's start the Fabric network. So I'm in my Fabric samples test network repository, and let's do network.sh up and then create channel as well. So I'm going to create a channel called test channel, and let's run this. So this should go ahead and create a channel for us. So order has joined the channel, and now our peers are also joining up the channel. Okay, so channel operation is done. Now we have a Fabric network running, and we also have a testnet channel called test channel. Now let's deploy a smart contract, and we are going to deploy this smart contract, which is available in asset transfer basic folder and in the chain code JavaScript folder. So we are going to call this chain code as basic. So the name is basic, and then this is going to install on the channel called test channel. Let's execute this command. Okay, so meanwhile this chain code installation is going on. Let's go ahead and start the implementation for creating up a user along with the so that the private keys are stored in the soft HSM, and our certificate is present in the file based wallet. So here first we'll have to also install the soft HSM. So in my case, I have already installed the soft HSM. I leave the details more in the repo itself, like how you can install soft HSM on your machine. But in my case, I have already installed it. So I can show you, I can do soft HSM -util, and you can see that it shows me the details. If I do -- version as well, it should show me that I'm running the soft HSM version 2.6.1. So I've just installed the soft HSM, done nothing else. Now we'll be just going to create a file, a soft HSM configuration file, and then we'll be writing up our implementation in the Node.js so that we can store these credentials or tokens in the soft HSM. So let's go to our asset transfer basic folder, and let's go to asset transfer JavaScript. Now here I'll be just creating one file, and I'll call this as soft HSM .conf. So this is the configuration file that I have created, and now let's define some configuration in this particular file. So I have kept the configuration here, and if we just see this configuration, we are saying that the token directory is going to be token, and this is the place where all these tokens will be stored. So we'll be just creating up a directory called token, and the backend for this is file based backend. So the tokens will be stored in the physical file here. So let's create a directory first. So I'll go to asset transfer application JavaScript, and you can define any location here, like where you want to store your tokens. So right now I'm storing the tokens here. So I'll create a directory called token. I have a directory token, and now let's export this configuration. So I'll do a soft HSM export soft HSM to config variable, and then I've given the path here. Okay, so our path is also set up. Now we can initialize the soft HSM, and we'll be just firing up a command that will initialize up a soft HSM token for us. So let's do that. So the command is soft HSM to util, and then hyphen init, and here we are just going to initialize the token, and I'm giving the slot as 0 and the label as for fabric, and then we have to give a pin. This is the user pin, and then I'm giving a security officer pin, and you can think of security officer pin as a admin pin, and the user pin is pin for to do basic operation with this particular slot. So so we can see that the slot has been initialized, and if we do soft HSM to we want to see all the slots, so I can do show slots, and this is going to show us all the available slots. So here this was the slot that is allocated to us, and now slot 1 is also available, and if we want to use slot 1 as well, we can just again initialize the soft HSM, and then it is going to create a slot for us. Now if you see here, this was the slot given to us, and we can see the label is for fabric. Again, this was the label that we initialized here as well. Now if we go to our token folder as well, we can see that inside token folder we have one subfolder. This is nothing, the slot that we got, and inside this we have certain objects available. Now if you do initialization one more time, you will see one more directory coming up inside this token, and that will be corresponding to that different slot. Okay, so now we have a slot available, and now we can simply create, we can go ahead and create a file. I'll call this as hsm.js, and inside this file I'll be just defining up a first function, and that function is going to register or enroll a user with HSM, and then we will be just writing one more function that is going to do actual transaction. So let's define first some configuration variables. So I'm giving the HSM provider options, and then I'm giving the label. This is the same label that we defined while initializing the slot as well. And then I'm giving the pin as well. And in this case, the pin was this one. But if you want to give a custom value, you can use this environment variable before running up this file, and then it will assign that particular value to this variable. Now we have to also define the library path, and I've defined a function here called get HSM lib path, and let's define this function that is going to return as the library path of the soft HSM. So whenever you are going to install a soft HSM, it is automatically going to create a library file for you, and then you will have to use that library file in order to interact with the soft HSM. So let's define this function here, and the function is get HSM lib. Now what this function is going to do, so I have defined certain possible locations where possibly your soft HSM lib file can be present, and you can use these files, and so your file can be present in any of these locations. And what we are doing is we are just checking whether this file exists, and that file exists, which means that this is your shared object file of a HSM, soft HSM, right? So this function is just going to iterate for all these files and check if that file exists. If that file exists, then it's simply going to return you that particular path. So here we are just checking if that file exists. If that file exists, then we are simply getting out of the loop. So here now this particular variable function is going to return as the lib path, and now we can write our function that is going to register the user with the Fabric CA, and then the enrollment will happen as well, and the private key will be stored in the soft HSM, and the corresponding public key should be present in the wallet, which is a file system based wallet in our case. Okay, so I have defined this function here. Let me just shrink this function. So basically what here we are doing is first we are initializing up a file system based wallet, and this function is a create HSM user function. It takes a connection profile. It also takes the org name, and it takes the username which you want to register against that particular organization in the Fabric C. Now first we are creating a file system based wallet, and here we have done this. So it's a file system based wallet. Now then we are going to get the HSM X509 provider, and we pass all these options that we have defined here. So all these options will be provided, and then we'll get a provider here. Now once we get this provider, we are going to add this provider to the wallet. So here you can see that we are just doing a get provider registry, and then we are adding our HSM X509 provider. Now then we are getting the organization out of that connection profile, and then we are also getting up the MSP. So this part is nothing new. You must have, if you are following the previous videos as well, you'll be knowing all these stuff. Now here we are just going to create a Fabric CA client, and I'm calling it as a HSM CA client. It takes the Fabric client Fabric CA endpoint that is defined here, and it takes the TLS certificate as well, the CA name, and the HSM X509 provider as well. So that is what we have defined here. Now we have the HSM client available, and now we can use this client to register the user, or maybe to enroll the user as well. So what we are doing here is first we are checking whether the admin user exists or not, and if that admin user doesn't exist in the wallet, then we are simply going to register that or enroll that particular admin user so that we can enroll other users as well. So here we are checking if that doesn't exist, then we are simply creating up we are defining the user ID and the secret, and then we are doing the enrollment against that HSM client. This is the HSM CA client, right? Now we are just going to create the identity for the wallet, and here I'm giving the type as HSM provider, and then I'm storing these details in the wallet. Let's also initialize these variables like the HSM provider and the admin identity. So let me just go on the top, and let's define everything here. So here I have defined the HSM provider as HSM X.509, and the admin user ID is admin, because this is the same ID that is used when we bootstrap our Fabric network. Okay, so till this place we were just dealing with the admin user, whether it exists or not, and if that doesn't exist, then simply enroll it and get the identities. Now we have to enroll the normal users as well to the application, and here we are doing the same thing. We are just checking whether those users exist in the wallet, and if they don't exist in the wallet, then we are simply going to register them with the Fabric CA, and then here we are doing the enrollment. So first we are registering of the entity, then we are doing the enrollment, and whatever entity we are getting, we are just storing in the wallet. So let's go ahead and run this particular function. I'll call this function here, create HSM user, and I need to pass the CCP connection profile. Then the second parameter it needs is the org name, so I can call this org name as org1, and the second it needs is the user, so I'll call this as, let's say, Aditya, and let's try to run this. So we have defined all the required details, like here that what's the pin and what's the label and the library as well. The path will come automatically by this function. So this function is going to return you the path, and again the path will be different for each OS. So for Ubuntu this might be the path, and for OS X if you're using via a tar command, again the path can be different. So that's why this function will help you in getting the right library path. Now let's run this. So I'll do node hsm.js. Okay, so it successfully added the identity to the wallet, and let's go ahead and see the wallet. So if we go to the wallet, here we can see we have the admin identity and the user identity as well, which is Aditya in this case. Let's go ahead and see these identities. So I'll just select this and open this in a new file. Let's do it here so that we can see the content properly. And here you can see that we just only have the certificate, because the private key is stored in the is available in the HSM. And here you can see now we have a bunch of objects, and because all the files, all the private keys are stored in this particular file. The same happens for the admin as well. So in the case of admin certificate as well, we can see that this has only the certificate, but there is no private key available in this file. Okay. So now we have successfully implemented the user enrollment, and we can see that we are getting the credentials in the wallet, but again the private keys are stored in the soft HSM. Now let's write another function that is going to do the transaction in the Fabric ledger in the smart contract. So let me define a function down there. So let's define a function here, and if we see this particular function, this function is named as send transaction. It takes the wallet and the user, and so first we are getting the channel name. So in our case the channel name is test channel, and I've also defined a function called env or default, and this function is down there. So it basically it's going to simply return you the corresponding value to that environment variable, and if there is no such value exists, then it's going to return you the default value. So right, in my case I'm not going to set the variable as like channel underscore name. I'm not setting, so I'm just directly passing the default value. So in my case the channel is test channel, and the chain code name was basic, so I'm simply getting those things here. Then the other thing that I'm doing is I'm just creating an object of my gateway, and after that I'm just connecting that gateway with the help of wallet and the entity. So here you can see that I'm passing the wallet, same is consumed here, and then I'm also giving up the user, like which user has to do the transaction, and then discovery as enabled, and the local host as true, because I'm running this everything in the local network. Now then what I'm doing here is I'm just simply from the gateway object I'm just looking for this particular channel. So here you can see I'm doing get network, and it's going to return me the channel object back, and then I'm just doing the get contract to get the chain code back, and then I'm just going to send the transaction. So here you can see I'm doing contract.submit transaction, and I'm passing all the required parameter needed by this particular create asset function in the ledger. I'm also generating this asset ID randomly so that I don't have to manually come again and give the new asset ID. And now let's try to call this function here, send transaction, and I'm thinking to call it directly after here itself. So I can just do send transaction, and I can pass wallet, and then I think it needs username as well. Yes, so it needs these parameter, and let's try to run this thing now. So I'll do node hsm.js. Again, this time our enrollment should not happen because the identities are already available, and it says that the transaction was committed successfully. Let's go ahead and see whether the transaction was actually committed or not. So if we clear this, if we do docker logs of peer node, we can see one transaction up here. Let's do one more thing. Let's try to execute one more transaction. Right now the committed block is 6. Let's execute it one more time. So now we should have a new block, block number 7. Yes, so we can see we got a block number 7, which means that the transaction are also working fine. And in this case, like the identities were stored in the HSM, and the keys were stored in the HSM, and the certificate was available in the wallet. Let's do one more thing. Let's try to see how these wallet identities will be different if we don't use soft HSM. So if you there is one file called app.js file, and this doesn't use soft HSM. It just simply uses file system based wallet to enroll the entities from the Fabric scheme. Then it's going to store them in the file system based wallet. Let's use this file. Let's use this app.js and see how this is doing the storage part. So if I run this, again we are going to get some error. We can just ignore them. But if we go here, we can see that it successfully imported the admin user and registered our user called app user. So if we go to the wallet here, these are the new entities that are created. And if we go to admin user, here you will be able to see that it has the private key as well. And if I scroll down, so here you can see that it has a private key as well. So this is the case when we are not using any kind of HSM, right? So this is a vanilla implementation where you store these entities in the file system based wallet, and there is no integration with the HSM. The same goes for our other user as well, which is the app user. Again, this was done just now without using any HSM, and this should also have a private key. So here we can see that this also has a private key. But the entities that we enrolled via our HSM, so this doesn't have the private key. It has only certificate, but there is no private key. But and these private keys are stored in the form of tokens in the soft HSM, right? Now just for a simulation, right, I'll just simply initialize one more slot for soft HSM, and we'll be able to see that one more folder got created inside this token. So I'll do soft HSM, and I'll have to use a different slot name. So I'll use slot name as 1 because slot 1 is kind of available. We just saw that like slot 1 is available, and you can give any label and any pin as well. So I'm keeping them as default. Now our slot is initialized. So if I do soft HSM util show slots, again we will be able to see one more slot. We have 2 slots now. This was the old slot and this is the new slot, and the one more slot is kind of open. So both has the label as for Fabric, and you will be able to see that now we have one more folder. So if we go to tokens, we have one more folder, and this was the older folder, and there's a new folder that doesn't have any keys available because this is just initialized just now. So yeah, this was it for this video, and hope you have liked this video. And if you did like this video, then please like and subscribe to the channel. And I have recently launched a course on certified Hyperledger practitioner. So if you want to enroll for that course, I'll leave the link in the description. You can enroll for that course. And if you want to build any production grade Fabric application or a Fabric network, then I have one more course. Again, the link is available in the description. You can always feel free to enroll into that course. So this was it for this video. Hope you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one.